How's it going, everybody? Combo here. Today we got 5 quick tips with the M11, aka the Uzi, if you want to say it in a way that doesn't make you sound like a fucking nerd. This weapon's really powerful, especially in those closer ranges, and while it might seem really simple, you know, you just hold down the trigger and take people out, this weapon's actually quite complex, and you can use it in certain ways that are definitely going to set you above your competition. So hopefully by the end of the video, you'll learn something new. Anyways, people, without any further ado, let's get right into it. Starting things out at number 1, and I do this fairly consistently, we're going to talk about the recoil and how to manage it. So typically I say there's 2 ways to do it: your recoil smoothing and your basic tracing of the recoil pattern in the opposite direction. Well, unfortunately, this weapon, as you can see right here, if I fire all the rounds without controlling it, this thing has a crazy recoil pattern that unfortunately you're not going to be able to memorize this in a gunfight. This thing is too sporadic, and especially at those longer ranges, it's just not going to help you. You could try to recoil smooth, which means moving in a direction and moving your reticle the opposite way, as you see right here. But once again, this spread is just insane, and you're not going to get a very good grouping unless you literally either use a macro or sit here and practice this hours on end. But I'm not here to tell you to just go practice it, because that'd make this video useless. So I'm going to show you a little hybrid of the two that I've kind of developed that has helped me control that pattern. So what you're going to do, if we look at this pattern, as you can see, it goes up to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. So you're going to match that pattern with your movements. So I'm going to go to the right a little bit, then to the left, then to the right, then to the left. While I'm doing that, I am holding down to maintain that vertical recoil, and those two together give you the most consistent pattern in my experience. So once again, we're going to slightly hold to the right, go to the left, go to the right, go to the left. Once again, that's not perfect. My vertical control was not great there, but compared to what it looks like normally, that horizontal spread's not too bad. So we'll try it one more time right here, holding down slightly, right, left, right, left. As you can see, the grouping isn't great, but compared to the other two, in my opinion, this is the most consistent. So one more time, you're gonna look at it, you're going to move to the right slightly, to the left slightly, to the right slightly, to the left slightly. While you're doing that, you are holding down, controlling that recoil. I know this sounds like a lot, but if you want the most consistent results, this is what you're gonna have to do. Next up at number 2, we have barrel shooting. Now this is super strong with the M11 for a couple reasons. Firstly, because this thing just fires so many rounds, it is super easy to shoot things out of the air. Secondly, because barrels actually have their health nerfed in Season 2, this has just become even easier. So you're probably saying, why would you want to do this? And I won't lie, it's a little bit situational. This works as a technique with the M11 because in my opinion, the M11 strives in situations where you're able to get targets isolated and take those 1v1 engagements. Because most of the time, you just want to pump all your rounds into one person, whether that's a heavy, light, or medium. If you're hitting your shots, other than if that heavy is using a sledgehammer and one-shots you, or an SA-1216, you're probably going to win that gunfight. So once again, I'll show you what that looks like. So you're going to take the barrel, you're going to quick melee it, and then you're going to throw it. Do those things right, and it should look like this. So quick melee, throw, shoot it. You can either hip fire or aim down sights, whatever works best for you. Now you're probably saying, hey, being on a light and taking damage like that's probably not wise. That's definitely true. So you actually have a method to mitigate taking damage. So what you're going to do, even if you don't hear that metallic clink sound when you do your quick melee, as soon as you input that quick melee, you are going to throw that barrel and immediately start shooting, and you shouldn't take damage. Your character's still gonna cough, which is weird, but if you do it right, it should look like this. Quick melee throw, and shoot it. As you can see, I take no damage. Barrel's on my target, and he's taking damage. You can also do this with flame barrels, however it's a bit more difficult, and you may have to shoot it on the ground. You're still going to quick melee it and do what I showed before, but for some reason, they just have more health. So once again, I'll throw it, and as you can see right here, I'm hitting my shots. It just takes a little bit more. This can still be useful, and I would recommend doing it, but just know, gas barrels are easy to destroy. It may take a few more on those flame barrels. Next up at number 3, we have a little technique called crouch strafing. Now you're probably saying, I know what that is. Why are you showing me this? Well, hold on just a second, right? Normally I like to put hip fire in its own little category if I think the weapon has a spread that is uniform enough to constitute saying, hey, use this over aiming down sights. Normally I wouldn't say the M11 has a great hip fire pattern, so I'll show what that looks like right here. If we're at a longer distance and we hip fire, as you can see, that grouping's okay, not too great, but the second we crouch, now of course all weapons gain a benefit when crouching for the most part, I don't know, for me the M11 seems like it gets a much bigger bonus than other weapons, and the shots feel super uniform. So generally speaking, right, if you're in engagement at these closer ranges, you probably could aim down sights and be fine, especially if you have the dash, but hip fire crouch strafing with the M11, I don't know why, but to me it just feels so consistent. So all you're gonna do, you're gonna strafe left to right, and you're also gonna throw some crouches in there while you're hip firing. And this does two things. Makes your shots more consistent because you're getting that reticle to come in a little bit when you're hip firing while crouching. And also by strafing, of course, and crouching, you are making yourself a tougher target to hit. So do all those things right and it should look a little something like this. As you can see right there, extremely powerful. And just to even show that off further, if we go further back right here and try to regularly just strafe and hip fire this heavy target, as you can see, the consistency is not very great at all. So we'll take him out. We'll go right back to this line right here. This time I'm gonna throw in some crouch strafing as I showed off before. So as you can see right here, it's not huge, but that consistency does go up a pretty noticeable bit. Of course, I wouldn't be hip firing from that far away. That's just to kind of show it at a longer range, but generally the benefits are there. So if you're gonna hip fire this thing, throw some crouches in there, take people off guard, and this will make your gameplay go from okay to absolutely busted. Next up at number 4, we talked about how to use the M11 at those closer ranges, so naturally let's talk about how to do it at those longer ones. Now, I will preface this by saying this is an SMG. If you want to use it optimally, use it at close range, aka 15 meters and in. But there will be instances that occur where you're going to need to use this thing at those longer ranges. For example, let's say a target you're fighting takes a zipline or a jump pad, you're gonna have to know how to shoot at longer ranges to keep your damage consistent. Maybe you're fighting a target who has a dash or a grapple hook, and they try to get away. They're probably gonna get some distance on you. You're gonna have to know how to use this thing at those longer ranges. I digress. So, some people will tell you, hey, to do this at longer ranges, fire all the rounds off, don't be a pussy, memorize the pattern, or recoil smooth. In my experience, I'm gonna tell you right now, does not work, right? So we fire all 40 rounds using the technique that I showed in the beginning, which I think is the most consistent. We'll go right while holding down, left, right, left. As you can see, I'm doing my best here. You're just not going to control that recoil. So what you can do, if we look at the recoil pattern of the M11, as you can see, those first 10 or 15 rounds are basically vertical. So we're gonna use that to our advantage. Essentially what I do at those longer range fights, shoot about 10 to 15 rounds, wait for my recoil to reset, and then fire another 10. Right here, I'm gonna fire all 40 and try to hit my target. So as you can see, those first 10 are consistent, but then I'm just kind of hoping my target goes back into my reticle. But if I fire in bursts of 10, as you'll see here, my shots become much more consistent, as you can see right there. Even targets that are like way back or like that, as you can see, this weapon's normally not that consistent. Of course, the targets are standing still, but as you can see, the proof's in the pudding. If you fire in bursts of 10 to 15, this weapon actually becomes quite consistent at those longer ranges. Next up at number 5, we have what ability synergizes best with the M11. And personally, this might be a hot take and I hate to say it, personally I think the best pairing for the M11 is going to be the cloak, and here's why. As I said, you can use this weapon at those longer ranges, but you're not going to be winning fights against FCARs or LH1s, it's just not going to happen. What the cloak allows you to do is get right in a target's face, get to your optimal range, probably isolate targets if no one sees you, and just absolutely lay into them. Something else I want to say with this weapon that I haven't really said, headshots are of course important, but this weapon does so much damage in a short amount of time. Just hit your shots. Headshots are important, like I said. As I showed off in that ranged example previously, if you use the first 10 rounds to go for headshots and then go for body shots with the rest, do that if you're not as good at controlling the recoil. But generally speaking, back to get on topic, cloak is your best bet because it just allows you to get closer to targets. Also, you know, escaping is very good with it. If you know what you're doing, you can bait targets. Cloak just really synergizes well with this weapon. The other two, dash and the grappling hook, are of course very useful. I love to use the dash when I'm being aggressive, but generally speaking, cloak helps you get to your target. It's gonna get you into your optimal range. You can also use this with a stun gun, which is super busted. Sneak up, stun gun them, and then just lay them out. But yeah, use what you want, but in my opinion, I think the cloak is going to suit your playstyle the best. Anyways, everyone, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments section down below. Originally, I was going to do this video with the 93R. However, I don't really like the weapon and I don't feel comfortable making a guide on it yet. The most kills I was able to drop with it was like 25, which may sound like a lot, but typically like game to game, that's about what I average. In like a regular quick cash game mode that's not like ranked or anything like that. So I'm gonna give it some time, maybe try it out more, look and see what other people are doing with the weapon. But yeah, back to the M11, really love it, give it a try. This weapon is super fun, it's also quite powerful, and I do think it gets overshined a little bit by the XP54, so give it a try and let me know what you think. If I missed anything, also let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, not gonna hold you here forever. This has been Combo, stay home, stay safe, and yeah, peace out everybody, later.